Thank you for joining me here at the Real ResQ podcast, powered by Vertical Helicast. This is episode 175, and this in particular episode is brought to us by AXNES. Their mission, wireless intercom. When lives are at stake and conditions are challenging, clear communication is of the utmost importance. Check them out today at axnes.com. And Breeze Eastern, dedicated to the mission. The world's only dedicated helicopter hoist and winch provider. Check them out today at breeze-eastern.com. Now, coming up next in this episode, we are joined by another U.S. Coast Guard finned brother. He's got some epic stories from his time in. So please welcome United States Coast Guard rescue swimmer number 175, Mr. Buck Beaudry. My name is Jason Quinn. I am United States Coast Guard rescue swimmer number 500. These are my rescues and rescues from those of us that put our lives on the line every day so others may live. This is the Real ResQ podcast. All right. I love it. All right, let's go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Real ResQ. Today, we've got another Finn brother with us. I'm super pumped to have this guy on. Ladies and gentlemen, United States Coast Guard rescue swimmer number 175, Mr. Buck Beaudry. What's up, dude?
Hey, how are you, Jason? Great to be here.
Man, I'm super pumped to have you on. Super pumped. I've been reading over some of your awards and just, you had an amazing career and now we get to hear some stories. I'm pumped. So how's things, man?
Oh, things are great, man. I tell you, life is awesome.
Yeah.
You know, the life is, like I said, living a quarter mile from the beach. The life is awesome down here in Florida.
That sounds rough.
It is.
You know, like, when you think about it, you know, most of us that, like, we just can't get away from the ocean, can we? You just can't do it. Or water, I should say body of water. Because there are guys living up in, you know, off the Great Lakes and stuff, but.
No, we gotta have water close by.
Yeah. Something in our veins.
It is.
Oh, that's funny. Nice. Well, man, I'm super psyched. Like I said, that you're here to join me. I love it when our brothers come on and tell their stories, especially when you had such a long career. Because how long were you in? You were in for well over 20 years, right?
Just shy of 30.
Jeez, oh man. 30 years in the Coast Guard. Hoo-ah! Woo! That's a long time. You know that, right?
Oh, yeah, it was. And I tell you, I love it. I miss flying. I'm not going to lie.
You know, that's why I'm going to do it as long as I possibly can. I love it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Nice.
With this old body, it definitely doesn't hold up as well as it used to.
You only got me by a couple of years, Buck. All right, maybe by a couple more. Because one of the awards I read is like 1996. I'm like, oh, look, I was graduating high school. That's awesome.
And I was already 10 years in the service.
Oh, it's beautiful. Beautiful. All right, Buck. Well, like, I know you. I know who you are. We've crossed paths a couple times here and there. So, but for everybody else, if you don't mind, just a little background, like who you are, where you came from, why'd you join the Coast Guard, and what brought you to being a rescue swimmer?
Well, it's kind of a funny story. Back growing up in St. Albans, Vermont, 20 miles from the Canadian border, an hour south of Montreal, didn't know much about the Coast Guard. And both of my brothers were firefighters, paid firefighters. So I'm like, hey, I'm going to follow suit and be a firefighter. I made a bet with my English teacher in the 11th grade that in 5 years, he goes, no one knows what I'm doing in 5 years. I said, yeah, I'm going to be a firefighter like my brothers. Bet $20 on it. And because I was a volunteer at the age of 15, so I mean, I was like a shoo-in when the next test came around. So after I graduated high school in '82, the test came out.
82. Hold on, I got to think about that for a second. Yeah, I remember being in grade school. That's about all I remember out of that. Barely into grade school. Anyway, sorry.
It's all good. So the test came around, and I had all the training. I was blowing the test away. And normally, when we put on our Scott Air Packs, we take them off the truck and throw them on back. They're ready to go. Well, this one was on the floor, and I was the first one up, and I put it on upside down. And I aced the test. I aced everything about it except for that one thing. I caught my mistake, but still, I put it on upside down, and that's the reason I didn't get hired. It was a blessing in disguise.
What?
Yeah, and it was good. It was good because actually now the fire department's been disbanded. Now it's a volunteer backup home, so it's all good. Anyways, so I was working 2 jobs, and I was a bartender, and then they had an accident on Lake Champlain, and my brother was on duty, and he went down, met up with the state police, and they get out there on scene, and the Coast Guard came up from Burlington, Station Burlington. Well, the next day, he's telling me all about this kid jumping in the water, a boat swimmer, pulling these people on there. I'm like, man, that is so cool. I'd love to do that. That'd be pretty awesome. But here's the trick thing is, I've drowned twice growing up as a kid.
What?
Once when I was living in Connecticut when we first moved, when I was about 4, and they didn't think I was going to survive. And the second time, a friend of mine, we were out swimming, jumped off a rock, and then he jumped off after me, and then all of a sudden he's freaking out, so I'm trying to help him. He's pulling me underwater and stuff, and luckily somebody's out there, grabbed us both in,
Oh my God.
That thought, when I was talking to the recruiter, didn't enter my mind, people jumping on you. So anyway, so I called the recruiter that day, and he's like, yeah, we got this new aviation program. I'm like, you guys got planes, really? I've never flown before in my life. This sounds pretty cool. Where do I sign up? So that's how I ended up becoming a rescue swimmer.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And then
that's awesome.
School was tough,
So
until about
175. So you were into you guys went down to Pensacola. So you went to East City first, then to Pensacola, and then from there went to whatever units were being stood up at the time or whatever was needed, right?
Right. Yeah, mine. So we went through after Pensacola. We went. My duty station was Kodiak. So my first tour in Kodiak.
Love it. Yes, me too. Yeah. I love that.
On the H3s.
Okay, I was 60. I didn't even fly on the H3, but man, I loved Kodiak. It was so fun.
Kodiak was so awesome. First tour up there, and of course, my supervisors, were Mario Marini and Marion Drobny, and I had Ron Eigenman on my. We worked nights. Freaking loved it. That's where I met Bob Watson. He came up to his first tour when he came up there.
Oh, Bob Watson.
Yeah.
Love that guy.
Yeah. So that's that picture we sent you. It was the stand-up crew for Kodiak. Back in 1989. Yeah.
Okay.
So
all right. The whole crew, everybody was there, right? Actually, you know what? I'll tell you what, I'll put it right in one of these spots, in one of these corners right here. We'll be able to see that picture. All right.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So like I said, Kodiak was awesome. Loved every minute of it.
Man, that's fantastic. Well, while you're up there, I know you had a first rescue.
Yeah. My first case actually was a medevac. Medevac. And it was about 300 miles out, and the H3 trucking along. We get out there to the Japanese freighter, and this guy's already packaged up in their own litter, and they're trying to hand me the litter to hoist it up. I'm like, no, I can't do that, dude. So I had to get our litter down, swap them back over, get them back up. We fly back, and we land, drop them off the air ambulance. We fly back, get home, and they were having a party at the Buskin Beach House. The ASM shop was. All of a sudden you pull it up and like, what are you doing here? So I'm backed out, baby. First case. Tag team, you're it.
Oh my gosh. That's great.
Yeah, the translation was tough for those Japanese. I mean, trying to get somebody that spoke any English. Hey, this is what I need you to do. Don't touch the litter when it comes down. You know, one guy got shocked. I'm like, you know,
300 miles out, 300 miles out, 300 miles back. Holy cow. For your very first case. Yeah, that's a long day right there.
Oh, yeah, it was, man. That was. So, but man, the H3, I love that aircraft. Oh my God. So much
I
fun
wish
to
I
fly
had been
it.
able to fly on it. I really do. I'm upset that I didn't actually get that opportunity. And yet I love hearing all the stories about it. So it's good.
Yeah.
Hey, out of curiosity, like first case, you've got a guy that's packaging a litter. This is actually a conversation. Can I have a conversation about this real quick with you? This is going to be good. So one of the things that the U.S. Coast Guard does, which I think is wonderful, and at the same time, I'm like, oh, there are new ways to do this. I'm just letting you guys know. So right now we go out, and if we have a guy that's packaged on a litter, a backboard, or duct taped to something to keep him mobilized, we have to take him out of that to put him into a litter. Now, like my training and everything that I do now, we carry what's known as like a pet bag, a Bowman bag. It's a piece of cloth, and the whole thing fits inside, and you just hoist that whole thing up. It's brilliant. Just the new things that are out there. For you don't have to unpackage them anymore. You just put them in the bag and send them. It's great.
Yeah. You know, I mean, but unfortunately, we're so far behind the times. You know, one of the best things opportunity I had was when I was running the stand team was those waterproof radios. I remember Mike and Jimmy Farmer were out on the skis, and we were getting ready to do the surf swim, and I lit a flare, but they just blew right on by. That night, I got Mike. I said, "All right, Mike, I don't care what it costs. Find me a radio so I can communicate with you guys when you're out on the skis." And we went through the development process. We didn't have to go through headquarters. Mike went through and developed it all. We tested it out there in Ahars underneath the helicopters. Worked great. And then that one case he had where he was in the cave and he was able to talk to the helos, that was awesome. Yeah. So and new equipment that these guys got an opportunity to use. I love it. As Master Chief Tires, move the block forward.
It's amazing. It's amazing and they are doing that. They are like all those guys are doing that stuff now. And the only reason I touch on this right now is because there was another guy while I was in Kodiak that had a similar case, only he couldn't get the guy out of the litter because he was, or whatever the backboard is on, because he was duct taped in. And the only way to get him out was to cut all the duct tape and everything to then open the wound back up. And so I don't want to spoil it because I was not on scene, so I can't say. But I know they got the guy up, and I know the guy was below the cabin door and had to be lifted into the cabin. So,
wow,
just throwing options out there for everybody. All right, just saying.
We got to get to 7-Eleven to change their policies, man.
Yeah, we got to do something. Helping them out.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Fuck. Still 300 miles out, 300 miles back. Well done. Done. Awesome.
Yeah.
Then do a party. Yes.
Yeah. Then went to a party. Loved it.
That's like the best way to start. You know what? Right? I mean, you just did your first case. Why not go to a party? I'm just saying.
And it was still daylight out too.
Oh God, I love it. Oh, I loved Alaska. It's so fun. Oh man, that's great. Well, I'll tell you what, if you have any more that are up in Kodiak that stand out to you while your first tour, dude, I'd love to hear them. Because I know Kodiak is just one of those places where it's wild up there. It is a bit of the Wild West.
It is the Wild West. And they were still getting used to trying to get us using us. They still didn't really want to use us that much. So, yeah. And it wasn't until the second tour that, things started changing when they started getting the H60s in.
Got it. Right on. So, all right. So then after Kodiak, where did you go?
My next tour after that was Cape Cod, Coast Guard Air Station, Cape Cod.
Would
Yeah.
that be somewhere around 94-ish?
I was 92.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
So I was
dated.
92 when
I
I got
dated.
down to Kodiak.
Oh, no. Or Cape Cod, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. So I got there in January of 92, and they still had the H3s there. And we were transitioning to the H60s. And me and Scott Vriesman, and pilot was Yule Long, and Mr. Broxman ended up having the first case on the 6016 out of Cape Cod when we transitioned over. You know,
nice.
It was just flare tiding, nothing big, but you know, it was nice. That was the start of my career in the H60s.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. And
was it nice being like back to Cape Cod, seeing like you're from New England, just come back to that area? So it's like a 4-hour drive, 5-hour drive to get home.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, I'd go home and on weekends, and you know, I purchased my mom's house after my dad passed away, and was doing work on it, and you know, driving weekends, drive up, you know, head back on Sunday and back to work.
Oh my gosh, I love it. That's actually something I wish I had done myself, is cruise back to Cape Cod just to be in New England. Being from Mass myself, like,
yeah,
you know, go Red Sox. Just saying. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw that out there, okay? But
not this year though.
No, not this year. That's all right. There's always another year of baseball. Always another year. Well, I'll tell you what, but
yeah.
I've got an award right here, and unless you want to start with something in particular, I would love to read this one, because there's a couple of them I want to go over while you were in Cape Cod. So I'll leave it up to you. Do you want to start with something else, or do you want me to just jump into this one?
Yeah, let's jump into it.
Freaking right. All right. So this was interesting to me when I read this, because when you read it, there's not just one rescue mission that you got called out on. There's actually 3 in this write-up, and they even call it more than that. So I'll tell you what, let me read it, and then we get to recap all of them. I'm so pumped. Citation to accompany the award of the Coast Guard Achievement Medal to Thomas M. Beaudry, Aviation Survivalman, 2nd Class, United States Coast Guard. Pastor Beaudry is cited for superior performance of duty while serving as rescue swimmer aboard Coast Guard 860 helicopters operating out of Coast Guard Air Station Cape Cod, Massachusetts from September 94 to December 94. During this period, he distinguished himself by participating in 6. I said 4. It's 6. My bad. In 6 search and rescue cases. Most notable was the night medical evacuation on 11 September 1994 of a severely injured crewman from the fishing vessel Sea Trek, who had fallen into an icy-filled fish hold. Despite windy, rolling seas and difficult hoisting conditions, Pastor Beaudry braved numerous attempts in order to be delivered to the vessel. The helicopter was then forced to depart due to low fuel, leaving behind Pastor Beaudry and the patient. Despite being tossed about in violent seas, he carefully completed a physically demanding 2-hour extraction of the patient from the vessel's hold to the main deck. Pastor Beaudry then executed a challenging patient transfer to the U.S. Coast Guard cutter Bainbridge Island, where the patient would receive additional medical attention prior to the helicopter evacuation. Despite being awake for over 24 hours, Pastor Beaudry remained alert and monitored the patient until relieved hours later by an ambulance personnel. Then, October 22nd, 1994, Pastor Beaudry deployed into 15-foot seas, successfully rescued 4 survivors from a life raft who had abandoned the ablaze fishing vessel Alento. Pastor Beaudry also completed 3 other medical evacuations, including a crew member from the Coast Guard cutter Seneca suffering from severe internal bleeding. Ultimately, Pastor Beaudry's actions provided instrumental in the saving of 6 lives and aiding 4 others. Petty Officer Beaudry's diligence, perseverance, and devotion to duty are most heartily commended in keeping with the highest traditions of the United States Coast Guard. Fuck! What the heck? 6 missions in September, October, November. Dude, you're getting launched every other week. What the heck?
Yeah.
Dude, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
they didn't that year, Brooks McKinley was #2 for the high time flyer at Air Station Cape Cod with 293 hours, and I was a high time flyer of 296 hours that year. Enlisted.
Holy, oh my God.
Yeah. So it seemed like every time I walked in the door, man, we were, see you later. We're going.
Wow. All right,
So,
well, let's dive into that first one, because you got left on scene for hours, awake for over 24 hours. What the heck?
Well, so I made the cardinal sin that day. It was a Sunday, and Keith Reese, good friend of mine, talked me into playing flag football that morning. So, 7 o'clock, got up. We went and played flag football. I get back home around 1:30 in the afternoon, shower, eat, take a quick power snooze, and be ready to go to work at 3, take over the duty. We get there, and man, the Falcons is just dropping shoots after shoots, to one of the cutters out there. It was a busy, busy night. They're finally around 9:30, 9:45, we're heading up to the barracks finally. I'm beat. I'm like, shit, I ain't doing that again. That's why it's very important, folks, to listen. Enjoy your rest time.
Amen.
So, yeah, and Mr. Lindsay, Craig Lindsay, and Kevin Sorrell were my pilots that night. We were walking up to barracks, and they come running down before the star alarm even hit. Told us what we got. So, back down in the shop. Yeah, now I'm pumped up. Okay, let's go. We get out there, and it's an Eastern rig, and it was freaking black out that night. There was no illumination whatsoever, and it took 6 attempts to get me down to this boat.
Oh my God.
And on the back of that Eastern rig, there really wasn't much room to get me down there. So and we almost they went vertigo and almost put us in the water. I'm like, all right, get me off this helicopter, get me on that boat. I'm like, get me out of here, baby. So they finally get me down to the boat, and I go check the patient. And I'm like, shit, sure enough, he had fallen through 2 fish holes, and he was leaning up against the ice pack, his head on a 2x4. I'm like, all right, I got to get I need the litter in my EMT kit. And they're like, well, we're out of fuel. I said, let's do an indirect trail line delivery. You got to give me that litter. There's nothing I can do for this guy otherwise. So they finally get me the litter down, and they take off. They were going back to refuel. We'll come back and get you. I said, it's going to take me about 2 hours to get this guy out. And so they take off. The Falcon takes off because, they were low on fuel also. It was pretty nasty out that night. I finally get the patient packaged up, and I got the captain and one other guy, and we're lifting this guy up through 2 fish holes. It took us about 2 hours to get this guy out and get him on the main deck.
And you're going up vertical, yeah?
Yeah, and we're both sitting there rocking and rolling. It's just nasty out. So I'm checking this guy out. I don't know, it's about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. Call back the air station. Hey, ETA in the helicopter. Yeah, they're not coming back out. What do you mean they're not coming back out? Yeah, because it was too rough out that they didn't want to come back out that night. They were going to wait until morning. I'm like, dude, if this guy goes south, there's nothing I can do for him out here. So I'm up with this guy, 15-minute vital checks. I don't know, about 3, 4 in the morning. The captain's like, hey, you want a cup of coffee? I mean, I'm covered in fish dust and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, that'd be great. I get a red Solo cup, and I'm drinking it, and it's lukewarm. And all of a sudden, I see this black stuff run down the side of the cup. All of a sudden, I'm over the side. I'm throwing up. He's breaking over me. Captain's like, you want something to eat? I'm like, no. I've never got seasick before, but that's like, anyways. Back in boot camp, my company commander, he said, you'll never know what a feeling it is to be in a position of being rescued and seeing on the horizon first thing in the morning, that cutter coming across the horizon. Well, I'm glad that they dispatched the Bainbridge Isle. So I'm sitting there, all of a sudden I see this thing, sunrise coming up, and here it comes. I'm like, oh, thank God, finally gonna get relieved, you know? And I even told back the air station, I said, hey, when you come back out, bring another swimmer. I need to be relieved. You know, I've been up now for over 24 hours and it gets better. So the Bainbridge Isle comes out and, you know, it's still rough out, you know, it's still 10, 15 foot seas. And now they've got the small boat. Now we've got to time the small boat to slide this guy onto the boat, litter onto the boat before it drops back down again. So that took about, you know, 15, 20 minutes to finally get it. And then as soon as we get in the boat, the coxswain, you know, I mean, the nose will slap in the back of the head. Hey, it's easy, bud. You got to roll. This guy's got a broken back, you know? So, and we had to do the same thing on the Bainbridge Isle. Now we got to time the waves to get the boat high enough, you know, to get that litter back onto the Bainbridge Isle. So I'm on the Bainbridge Isle, and all of a sudden, sure enough, here comes the helo. I'm like, oh God, all right, good deal. Need another, need somebody who's going to relieve me. Nope, there's not a swimmer on board. I'm like, ah. So we finally get the guy up. We start heading back into Hyannis. You know, it's about another hour trip. We get there, we land, the paramedic hops on board, 2 large bore IVs, this guy's got to go to Boston. And he goes, and off we go to Boston. I'm like, guys, you could just drop me off at Hyannis, I'll walk home, you know, just, you know, I'm done, man. And this is probably now around 10, 11 o'clock. So we land in Boston, right there at the sheriff's station. You know, we drop the patient off with the Boston. We drop him off, and the pilot's like, okay, we got to go refuel. Like, just wait a second, man. Just, you know, they take off, leaving me there in downtown Boston in my, you know, nasty sweatsuit, you know, fish guts, puke, you know, it's just nasty. And, you know, me and the paramedic, it taken about an hour and a half to go refuel and come back. And finally, I landed back at the air station at 3 o'clock that afternoon. You know, when I was supposed to get out.
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah, you know, man, I was done. So I was toast. But yeah, it's just so crazy. That was a weird case. You know, that's what I get for getting up, listening to Keith, and go playing football in the morning without getting my proper rest.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So that was wild. I mean, and yeah, that was, and the thing is, Mr. Dutil told me that unfortunately they didn't, that's why they had to combine everything together, because they didn't get it up to the Admiral enough time to get it signed, whatever it was that I was going to get.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Dang, Buck.
So, yeah.
All right, so that was a 24-hour, which turned into a 36-hour duty for you. Awesome. And then 2 weeks later, you're launched out on people in a raft in 15-foot swells. Okay. What?
Yeah. It's like, all right, let's go. And we get out there on scene, and sure enough, the boat's still ablaze and everything. And there's the life raft, and all right, you know, that was that first free falling into the timing the waves, and all right, guys, let's do this. You know, and then the first guy, I get him, and he's just freaking out. You know, I mean, literally, it was one of those like back at school. I'd turn him around and say, "Listen, you're doing it my way, or I'll put you back in that raft. Because we got so much gas here, and I'm not staying here with you." He just loosened up, and we get those 4 in there, pop the raft, you know, fly back home. You know, they were so thankful that we ended up being out there that day, you know, and the boat, like I said, I think the boat finally sank before we left, you know.
Oh, man, wow.
But yeah, it was wild. You know, and let's get that raft away from that boat and let's get out of here.
Oh my gosh. All right, so and then I'm gonna go another 2 weeks later, and you have to help a fellow coastie off one of the Coast Guard vessels.
Yeah. Yeah. He had some type of internal bleeding, and he was in bad shape when we got him off the Seneca. When he got hoisted down, that was actually the probably easiest hoist is going to the Seneca.
Wide open deck. They know what they're doing. They work hand in hand with the Coast Guard helicopter. It's amazing.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was phenomenal. Got down there and took control of the situation. Okay, Doc, give me all your information. Let's pack this kid up. Flew him back in. We went right to Mass General with that guy. So, and I don't remember what was going on. He had some type of I don't know. Might have had also that ruptured or something inside. So he was not in good shape when we got to him. So yeah, he wouldn't have made the trip in on by boat. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That is a busy 3 months right there. That is awesome.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the way my first tour down to Cape Cod was. I mean, it was like that, like I said, these guys didn't like having me in the duty section. Because we were getting launched out on cases left and right. Like I said, I've got 2 conic boxes that I had to go through and find some memorable cases and stuff, of everything that we did.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that more than anybody else. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
See, my office isn't big enough to put all my stuff up. So when my son finally moves out, I'm taking his room because it's twice as big as the office I'm in now. And
perfect.
I can put all my stuff up.
Display it where it needs to be displayed. I like that. That's good stuff, man.
Yeah.
Holy cow. We're going to divert real quick to thank our sponsor.
Axnis. The Axnis P&G wireless ICS system delivers cutting-edge wireless ICS technology to any aircraft as a fully integrated system or as a carry-on, carry-off mobile base station. The P&G wireless system is the right solution for any mission.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Let's keep going with Cape Cod because you earned yourself another award down there for an interesting rescue. Let me get right into it. Citation to accompany the award of the Coast Guard Commendation Medal to Thomas M. Beaudry, Aviation Survivalman, 2nd Class, United States Coast Guard. Professor Beaudry is cited for outstanding achievement while serving as rescue swimmer of Coast Guard Helicopter 6017 on the evening of 19 January 1996 during the rescue of a crew member from the barge North Cape aground near Point Judith, Rhode Island. The crew member had been stranded while attempting to anchor the barge to prevent its grounding and subsequent environmental catastrophe. With a nearby Coast Guard motor lifeboat unable to recover him due to the wildly crashing surf, the Coast Guard helicopter was directed to launch. Departing in darkness from Air Station Cape Cod, the Coast Guard helicopter immediately encountered severe turbulence and hurricane-force winds gusting over 80 knots. While en route, Petty Officer Beaudry donned his survival suit and assisted the flight mechanic in preparing the appropriate rescue equipment. Upon arrival, the crew observed the survivor clinging to a small tower as the waves crashed over the barge, occasionally completely engulfing him. The rescue helicopter was quickly positioned over the survivor, and rescue checklists were expedited due to the obvious danger of the survivor washing overboard. Pedersen Beaudry volunteered to be hoisted to the barge using a direct deployment method. Demonstrating expert crew coordination and timing, he was lowered between the periodic swells to the survivor. Recognizing the urgency of the situation, he directed the survivor to raise his arms, completed attachment of the rescue strap, and signaled for immediate pickup. Through superior skills, teamwork, and perseverance of mind, the survivor was successfully recovered from immediate danger. Pedestal Beaudry's dedication, judgment, and devotion to duty are most heartily commended in keeping with the highest traditions of the United States Coast Guard. Fuck! I can't say this enough. I love this stuff. I really, really love this stuff. I can't get enough of it. This is incredible. So you get, tag you're it.
Well, I'm coming to duty that day. It's nasty. The nor'easter's rolling in, you know, and I meet then Captain Maine, who was a lieutenant at the time, come walking out of a hangar 2. He's like, man, you missed the biggest case of the year. And I'm like, you know what? That's fine, man. It's, you know, I don't need to go out in this weather. It's all good, you know. So Jimmy Page was my flight mech, and Paul Latil was my pilot, and Nevada Smith was the co-pilot. And so we went there, you know, it's just getting worse and worse out there. I'm like, all right, well, hopefully we don't have to go anywhere tonight. The watch captain calls us up and says, hey, you need to come down and, you know, pre-flight your plane before you guys go back to the barracks. So we're down there. We just finished pre-flight. Hangar doors, man, are just banging. I mean, pilots can run down, SAR alarm goes off. I'm like, all right, shit. I mean, it was nasty. Literally, when everybody got in the aircraft, they opened the doors, pulled us out. You know, we got out there, taxied the runway. I mean, it's just when we took off, we actually went backwards because some of that wind. I mean, it was so strong, and we were getting beat up pretty bad. You know,
you can say it's okay. You can say it, Buck. It's okay.
Yeah, like in the movie, the Road Hunt for October, when they're on that plane, you know, dropping off. That's the way that the helicopter was that night. I mean, it was just nasty. And we finally get on scene. Sure enough, there it is. We spot this guy. He's on top of the tower. I'm like, all right, you know, we talked about it on the way out. We're going to do a direct deployment. Well, all of a sudden, we get down there. The first attempt failed. The first attempt, because they got coming down. All of a sudden, Mr. Latil just pulled us up, you know, and all of a sudden they reeled me back in. I'm watching this wave come over, engulf this whole barge, and I'm like, shit, where'd the guy go? You know, I lost him in the whitewash. All of a sudden, it starts going away, and all of a sudden I see this survival suit. Here, this guy just hanging on the barge there, you know, floating in this foam and all that. I'm like, okay, let's go. And we were coming down, and literally, they did such a phenomenal job, got me so close. I yelled to him, said, put your arms up, put your arms up. He put his arms up. I slid the thing around him, basically like 7 seconds, you know, and all of a sudden, as soon as I, you know, give the thumbs up, he started pulling the cable, but they pulled the helicopter up because another wave literally came just as we cleared the top, man. Whitewashed out up from underneath us again. So, dude, yeah, that was a wild night, man. And then we land at Providence, and this guy takes off his survival suit. And I swear to God, we just rescued not Jimi Hendrix, but Ted Nugent. I mean, the hair and all that, you know, it's like, oh shit, Ted Nugent, you know. But yeah, we had to wait that one out until the storm passed for us to even get back home. You know,
you ended up staying in Providence, Rhode Island for a while?
We had to stay in Providence for a couple hours before the storm passed, so we could get back to the Cape. I think it was around 2 in the morning when we finally got home.
Jeez, oh man.
Yeah. That was
80 knot winds. That's freaking crazy.
Yeah.
That's actually, you know, off the top of my head, that's almost, if not at limits for the hoist. Just gonna throw that out there. You're at limits. Like legally.
Yeah. Well,
wow.
Like I said, if he got washed over, it would have been ugly. You know?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was I remember that day vivid, very vivid, you know, that whole afternoon. So
you know, I can kind of see him, like he's sitting there on the tower, wave comes over and he's just hanging on, just everything he's got to hold on. Don't let go, don't let go, don't let go.
Yeah. Yeah,
oh
when that wave hit, and I'm looking down there, and I'm like, "Where the hell did he go?" I'm trying to see if I can spot him and stuff, and all of a sudden, there it is, just a orange survival suit. All right, let's go.
Oh man, insane, insane. Fuck, he's a great. Yeah. He's awesome, brother. I'm gonna keep going. If you're going it, I'm gonna keep going. All right, 1997. Okay. So we started in 94. A recap real quick. 94, you had a whole bunch of cases in 3 months. And then you had a whole bunch more, but then you earned your Commendation Medal in 96, now 97. Citation to accompany the award of the Air Medal to Thomas M. Beaudry, Aviation Survivalman, Second Class, United States Coast Guard. Pedersen Beaudry is cited for meritorious achievement in aerial flight on 17 January 1997 while serving as rescue swimmer aboard Coast Guard helicopter 6007. The helicopter crew was deployed to assist the fishing vessel Commodore, which was foundering in 20-foot seas and 40-knot winds, 120 miles east of Cape Cod, Massachusetts. The vessel had encountered severe storm and began rapidly taking on water, forcing its 6 crew members to abandon ship into their life raft. Pedersen Beaudry was part of the midnight maintenance shift when he was asked to be the second rescue swimmer on the case, and he immediately responded and loaded his gear. As the helicopter battled through heavy turbulence, snow squalls, and low visibility, Pedersen Beaudry prepared for the arduous task ahead and configured the aircraft cabin for the ensuing rescue. Once on scene, he quickly assessed the situation and recommended the deployment of both rescue swimmers to work in tandem to reduce their susceptibility to fatigue. Upon entering the storm-tossed seas, Pedersen Beaudry took up position alongside the raft, where the first rescue swimmer brought a victim to the rescue hoist. Upon his return to the raft, Pedersen Beaudry led the next victim to the rescue basket, and this process continued for 30 minutes. Just as Pedersen Beaudry reached for the final victim, a huge wave overturned the raft, trapping the victim. Pedersen Beaudry instinctively reacted to the perilous situation by diving under the raft, recovering the victim, and positioning him in the basket. He continued with the second swimmer, and together they were hoisted to the helicopter. Pedersen Beaudry's actions and skills were instrumental in the rescue of 6 lives. His courage, judgment, and devotion to duty are most heartily commended in keeping with the highest traditions of the United States Coast Guard. Fuck! Dude! 2 swimmers go out. 6 people come back alive. What?
Yeah.
Sick!
So I was on nights, I was on mids because I was just recovering from the nasoplasty that they did after the hoisting accident back in '95.
Oh,
so that almost
gosh.
ripped my head off. Yeah. So
We might have to back up to that. Just throwing that out there.
okay. And it happened to be with the same swimmer that I'm out there with tonight, Kelly Turner. Love that guy. KT, man. Awesome dude. So it was in January and it was freaking cold. I mean, it was cold, wind blowing about 50 miles an hour. And I'm driving into work and it's clear as a bell. And I see Ron Eigenman's helicopter taking off. They've got a case 120 miles or so southwest or southeast of the air station, a boat sinking, with 5 people on board. I'm coming in, I'm thinking to myself, man, I'm glad that's not me tonight. It's just too cold, it's too nasty out there, So I got the guys in there, I'm in maintenance control, and I'm setting up the flight schedule for the next day. And all of a sudden the phone rings, Mr. Holmes calls me and says, hey, call in the second crew. We got a second boat sinking. And I look across the hangar from hangar 1 to hangar 2, and I can't see the hangar because it's snowing so bad. I mean, it was clear when I was coming in, and now, we've got about, 2 to 4 inches of snow already on the ground. I'm like, damn, all right. So we get the helicopter out, we tow it out there, and then Lieutenant Dan's, believe it or not, was the pilot. And he comes, what are you doing here tonight? I'm working. So, all right, well, get your gear. You're coming too. So, okay, and away we go. We're flying out there. We have 2 pumps on board, dewatering pumps. And we get halfway out there, all of a sudden it's like, all right, they've abandoned ship. I'm like, okay, well, first thing to do, we get on scene, let's kick these pumps out. Let's get rid of them. We're gonna make room, And KT was the first one to get lowered down, and I was the second one to get lowered down. And it was those nights when you're swimming, and all of a sudden it's like, you don't know where you are. You can't hear the helicopter, and you don't know where the raft is, and all of a sudden you pop up on top of the wave, and all of a sudden it's like, all right, there it is, you know. And that's the way it was for those 30 minutes, trying to find the helicopter. Okay, you know, KT come back, I take the next scout. So the last guy, they had to change the wording on it because I didn't dive under the life raft. I was there with the guy, and the life raft capsized on both of us. And I had a hold of it.
Way.
Yeah, I had a hold of him, and luckily I was able to pull ourselves out from under the raft, and he got caught in a drogue chute, you know. So I freaking cut that loose, my knife, and the raft just took off. And Keith came back, where's the raft? Where's the raft, buddy? It is gone. See you later. It's just cartwheel out of there. It's like, see ya, you know. So I bring this guy back, you know, make sure there was nothing else he was tangled in, and he goes, and you know, get back up the helicopter, you know. And it was wild that night, but it was so cold and so windy, you know. It's like, turn the heat on, man. Yeah, the guys are in there all shivering and stuff, and you know, that was wild. And you know, and then Ron got back. He got 3 out of the 5 for his boat that went down. One of the cutters got the other 2 people. Yeah, so there was 11 people rescued in the course of 6 hours.
Oh my good Lord.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
And I tell you, it was cold.
Oh, well, I haven't had the opportunity to do it. So you've got 2 swimmers in the water, you and another guy, fully capable. How is that working? You guys like in tandem with that?
Oh, it was awesome. It worked out so perfectly, you know, because like I said, we were able to effect the rescue quickly, and you know, with the headwinds and everything, you know, we were able to save time on gas. You know, first guy to come back, okay, second guy, let's go, pull, and then explain to the next guy what's going to happen, you know. And there was a couple times, like I said, when we're getting that guy in the basket, you know, I mean, there was a time when I could almost literally touch the tire, because that's the waves come up. And you know, Matt Gingrich was a flight mech back then, and literally, you know, I could freaking see him. It was like up. You could hear him. It's like tire, you know, pushing on the tire, like, oh, this, you know, man, get this thing out of here. You know, it was so wild that night. So,
oh my gosh,
but yeah,
that's so cool. Just come on, swim up to your buddy, like, hey, high five, boop, you're up. Dang, man. Well done to you and the entire crew. That is amazing.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, that was so much fun. It really was.
Wow.
But
All right.
like I said, the Cape, the Cape was fun. The Cape was a great tour, man. Second class, just flying, you know. Man, I'd stay there my entire life if I could have, you know.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, you know, they say that second class petty officer in the U.S. Coast Guard is probably the best place to be. And the only reason for that is because you don't have the administrative side, but you don't have the new boot side. You're just that guy in the middle. It's perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. It was awesome. I tell you, loved every minute of it. So
that was 1997. And after 97, you ended up going back up to Kodiak, right?
Yeah, went back up to Kodiak.
All right. And, so now the H-60s are in Kodiak, right?
Right.
All right. I have to ask, on your second tour, are there any rescues that stand out to you?
Well, quite a few, actually.
Okay. Hold on. Let me check my clock. Yeah, I'm available.
I was part of the rescue. I was on duty the night that the LeConte went down in Sitka. And that's where it was about 10 o'clock when the beepers went off and they launched the C-130 saying they lost the helo because Sitka was trying to rescue these folks off the LeConte. If you ever read the book Coming Back Alive.
Oh, yeah. Russ Zulik was on that. Yeah.
So
there was
I was a guy.
As a matter of fact, off the top of my head, in that book, they actually talk about waves over 100 feet. Like, and that was not an exaggeration. 100-foot waves. There were 3 crews that went out, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
amazing book. Amazing book.
Yeah. And I picked up the guy that following morning. But we got launched at midnight, and we were flying over, and we're about 1,000 feet, and you could still see the whitecaps down there in that storm. And when I finally got that guy that next day, there was still 25, 30-foot seas, rolling seas when I picked up the dead survivor. So, not a survivor, but the victim.
Yeah, victim. Yeah.
So, and it is survival, or he was in his survival suit, but he was done,
Yeah.
So
Wow.
that was
Wow.
a wild one.
You know what? I actually didn't know that they launched a crew from Kodiak for that. I knew that
Yeah.
there were all 3 birds in Sitka went out on it, from what I remember out of the book. It's been a little while since I read it, but
Yeah.
oh my gosh.
Yeah. So yeah, we got launched from Kodiak that night. So that was that was a wild night flying over there, especially looking down and seeing the whitecaps at 1,000 feet. Like, damn. Yeah, it's pretty bad. So and there was another case that we had where the crew before us ended up getting their DFCs, and we didn't even get a letter of, hey, thanks for going out and playing.
It's all good. It's all good. You know what? It's all good. What do we keep saying? We don't do it for the awards. We do it because we love what we do.
That's right. That's right. The motor vessel Heckerby, a 900-foot freighter. So we get out there to relieve Kenny Buxton and Terry Bertram, was the crew that were out there first. So we come in and we land, and they're like, yeah, it's pretty bad. I mean, they're telling us how bad we're getting ourselves into. I got Mr. Kramer, Mr. Eagle, and Sekai Ellis as my flight mech. And we get out to this boat, and sure enough, man, it's still rocking and rolling. And so they're trying to do a direct deployment to be down, down to the boat. And sure enough, all of a sudden, start swinging, coming in, the boat comes up, right in the side of it. All of a sudden, I was like, I can't feel my side, my right side. I'm like, oh, this isn't good. So finally, they get me back, and they finally get me down onto the boat, and it just, getting hammered. We get the litter down on the boat. He's like walking in. Okay, where's this guy? Oh, a couple stories above us. Okay, so we hike up, and it was the first time ever in my career as I'm checking this guy out. He's in the middle of a doorway and into a room. I'm inside the room. I'm checking, going through bottles, trying to check on this guy. I have people leaning against the door, holding onto my harness to keep me in place, because we're just getting hammered. So we finally get the guy packaged up, and we have to carry him down the stairs because the elevators aren't working. This boat was just beat to crap, and they're just finally getting the power back on. Get him on deck, and finally we were able to get the guy off, and then they lower I got the trail line, so they bring the hook down to me again. All of a sudden I look, I've got this huge wall in front of me, and these railings are about 4 feet high. And I'm looking at this huge wall in front of me, the gangway going down, and I'm looking up, and I'm seeing Mr. Eagle on my side. I'm seeing Sekai Ellis, she's out holding the hoist cable like this, and they're still pulling tension. I'm like, oh, this is not going to be pretty. So, did one of those, okay, started doing that quick run as fast as I could, hopped up on the wall, and was able to clear the railing as they pulled me out. And there I am, just freaking pendulum back and forth, Luckily, the thing, hoist didn't break. Finally, get us in. I'm like, oh, wow, Mr. Eagle, I didn't expect to be seeing you like that today, And
Oh
yeah.
my God.
Yeah. And then we landed at Unalaska, and we spent the night there, and then flew home the next day.
Oh my gosh. That is crazy.
Yeah. So those are some of the memorable cases from Kodiak. Yeah, we had one when we actually, Mr. Pike and Mr. Rush, love Mr. Rush. And then Gary Hart was my flight mech.
Gene Rush?
Yeah.
Love
Yeah, I
that
love it.
guy. Love
Yeah.
that guy. I get to fly with him. Oh,
Yeah,
that's great.
I'd I'd go anywhere. I'd fly anywhere with any
Absolutely.
kind of pilot with him.
Totally. I
We,
would love to have him as a guest on this podcast just because we were on a couple missions together, which is fun.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. Side note. Gene Rush, great guy.
it was a pretty nasty day in Kodiak. I mean, it was wicked. The wind blowing, like it does, 50, 60 miles an hour sideways, coming down off the mountain, old woman. And so we get, and it's cold. We get, SAR alarm goes off. Captain Ying comes down to give us permission to launch. And so instead of taking the helicopter outside, they opened up the doors. We were already strapped in. We started the APUs inside the hangar, and they pushed us out and disconnected. And we got that aircraft, fired up, head turn and everything. And away we went. As we're taking off, Captain Ying comes on the radio and says, "Boys, you need to find another place to sleep tonight because you're not coming home." That's how bad the weather was.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So we're flying up to near Seward, and this boat capsized and floated into a canyon or a little cove.
Bay, inlet, cove. There we go.
So and there it is, boat, and it is so cold. It is so cold that night that Gary Hart threw up like 3 times.
Oh.
I mean, he was hypothermic. I mean, we didn't even have enough fuel to turn the APU on to get some heat inside the aircraft. That's how bad the headwinds and everything we were facing that night. I tried to convince Mr. Pike and Mr. Rush to put me down because there was a cutter on scene. Put me on top of the boat because I hadn't sunk, it just capsized. Let me knock and see if there's anybody in there. They wouldn't do it because it was wind chill was minus 70. And
minus
like, no,
70?
Minus 70.
Oh my God, that's cold.
And they're like, "Nope, we're not doing that." I said, "Just so." And finally, we had to depart, and we flew into Anchorage, into Elmendorf, to get to the air base. I mean, and we landed. You can ask Mr. Rush about this. That if we would have flared coming in, we would have flamed out. That's how low we were in fuel. So we come in, nice little landing. We had checklets on, on the dashboard there. And so we finally get the aircraft in to the hangar and try to find some place to sleep that night. It was so cold. I mean, there was nothing you do to warm up. Everywhere you was, it was just so cold. And Gary Hart, like I said, he should have went to the hospital. I mean, he was dehydrated, he was hypothermic, and we had but it was just so bad. Like, all right, the helicopter broke down. We were there for a week because it was so cold, and the Air Force wouldn't let us go out. So
you were there for a full week?
Oh
my gosh.
They sent the PJs or the paratroopers out that next day, and they said they dove the boat and they couldn't find anybody. But when the boat grounded, the natives heard somebody knocking on the wooden hull, and they cut him out. So him and his brother. Wow. And they said they saw us out there flying. They saw the flares being shot off. It was one of those situations. Hey, but it was so cold that night. The pilots did not want to put me down. I was ready to go. I said, "Well, I would have been warmer in the water, man."
Hey, fact, you would have been. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean, I had the cutter right there. So, if we found these guys, then we could have got them onto the cutter, it would have worked. So, but that was a wild night. Yeah, we were stuck in Anchorage for a week. We walked in the next morning, man, and it would just look like somebody had stabbed the 860. All the BIM indicators were all black. Hydraulic fluid on the strut, from the bottom of the strut. Yeah, I mean, it was so cold that night, man. It took me, my wife set me up an electric blanket, up to Alaska. I never used it. I don't need that thing. But when I finally got home and I crashed, man, I had that thing cranked on 10 just to thaw out. Yeah, I was so freaking frozen. The whole week it was so cold.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I love it. That is amazing. Well
Yeah.
done. I'm
Yeah.
sorry you didn't get down to the water. Like I totally get it. Like
Yeah.
I absolutely get why
Yeah.
they were like, no, that's
Yeah.
not a good idea.
Yeah. Well, I said I didn't even want to into the water if I had to. I said, just put me down the boat, give me enough cable so I can knock on and see if there's anybody in here. And we'll figure something out from that point in time. With the wind chill that night and it was so windy, cold, they're like, nope, not happening. So yeah.
It's kind of cool to hear that the locals went in and cut them out though. That's pretty badass.
Yeah. The locals, when it grounded, they heard them knocking on the wooden hole, and they got out there and cut them out and saved one. He had his brother with him. They had his survival suits on, but one of them, he had a leak in his, so he didn't make it through the night. Yeah.
Oh, it's too bad.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that was another fun night story up in Alaska.
Wow, man. Just wow.
Yeah.
We're going to divert real quick to thank our sponsors.
Breeze Eastern. For over 80 years, Breeze Eastern has designed and manufactured battle-proven aerial rescue hoists, winches, and cargo hooks. Each product is carefully crafted to support demanding mission scenarios, ensuring the job gets done safely and efficiently. Visit them today at www.breeze-eastern.com.
So, and then after, like I said, 2 tours in Kodiak and 2 tours in Cape Cod, then I went to Astoria. And that letter I sent you about the father and son, that was probably mentally the most hardest case I have ever had to do in my life.
So,
of course.
I'm glad you mentioned that because you got a team, a meritorious team, right? The meritorious team or Coast Guard meritorious team commendation.
Yeah.
And I'm going to read that in a sec, but I can't emphasize it enough for everybody that's out there and everybody that listens. Don't get me wrong. I love the awards. I love reading them. I love highlighting them. I love what everybody does to earn them. But the letter from a family member to say thank you is worth so much more. And I'm going to touch on that in a second. But so let me read the rescue or the write-up that we got, and then we get to go from there. Okay. So I'm going to throw this one out there to everybody as well. A team ribbon is a group of people that get it. And it's really, as far as awards go, it's not, what do you say, Buck? It's like, it's a nice to have. It's like, oh, it's good job, team. Hey, the crew, the whole air station did something amazing. Everyone gets the team award. And I think everybody, I won't say everybody gets one, but it's more common to get it in a unit than not, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So this is, anyway, let me just read it and I'll get it to you. The Commandant of the Coast Guard takes pleasure in presenting the Coast Guard Meritorious Team Commendation to Willapa Bay Search and Rescue Team for services set forth in the following. Citation. For extraordinary meritorious service in superior performance of saving 2 lives from hypothermia in Willapa Bay, Washington, 16 May 2004. The group duty officer dispatched the Coast Guard helicopter 6005 from Air Station Astoria for an overdue canoe, which had capsized while attempting to cross the Willapa Bay, tossing a 53-year-old father and his 11-year-old son into the frigid waters. The crew and the duty group officer engaged in discussions leading to several possible locations of the survivors and developed different search plans to help locate them. With twilight fading, the rescue helicopter located a partially submerged canoe without its occupants, merely an hour after arriving on scene. With increased probabilities that the survivors were nearby, the crew began a 3 nautical mile by 30-degree sector search pattern, quickly leading to the location of the father clinging to his unresponsive son. Despite the approaching darkness and urgency in the situation, the crew quickly and efficiently prepared for the urgent hoist. The crew skillfully executed the harness deployment of the swimmer to the survivors. One by one, the father, son, and lastly, the rescue swimmer were hoisted safely into the cabin. Returning to Air Station Astoria, the crew coordinated with Group Duty Officer, which facilitated the seamless delivery of the severely hypothermic father and son to the awaiting paramedics while providing life-saving first aid to the survivors. The collective efforts of the team were instrumental in the rescue of his father from the frigid waters of Willapa Bay. Anything less than flawless execution of this rescue would have been undoubtedly resulted in the gravest of outcomes. Furthermore, the air crew displayed compassion and passed the importance of boating safety by visiting the 11-year-old boy and his family in the hospital the next morning. The visit resulted in lasting impressions for the family, whom later published an article in the local paper that stressed the importance of boating safety. The dedication, pride, and professionalism displayed by each member of the exceptional rescue is truly noteworthy and is keeping with the highest traditions of the United States Coast Guard. Buck, that is pretty badass. All right. Now, before we get too far into it, I gotta. So you got two letters. The first one, which is extremely hard to read because the cursive writing here is, it looks like my aunt's. I love it. But this is what it says. I'm going to do my best with this one. To the helicopter crew, thank you for giving me back my husband and son, Dale and Erwin. Thank you for not giving up and continuing the search as the sun went down. Thank you for warming them and getting them to quick medical care. Thank you for visiting us at the hospital. Erwin will never forget that. Even though he has no memory of his rescue, thank you for your courage, caring, and compassion. Yours, Rhonda. That was from Mom. This is cool because this is from Erwin, the son. To the Coast Guard, from Erwin. You're the ones that saved me from the cold. Yes, you the brave, you the bold. Look inside. And then there's a picture inside. Buck, that right there is why we do this. It's that part of it that makes it so just emotional and real. It just is. It's awesome. So you're it, my friend.
That day, emotionally, that was the toughest case that I ever had to deal with. And the reason being is when I came up onto the father and son, the kid was out flat. Blonde hair, just like my boy. Same age, same height. I'm like, shit, I'm going to have to be doing CPR on this kid in front of his dad. You know, and in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, this is my son. But so to get to that, before we get to that point of the story, Sunday night, it's getting late, you know, it's about 5:30 or so, 6. The crew will get together, hey, let's order a pizza. And you know how it goes. You know, all of a sudden, pizza arrives, SAR alarm goes off. Shit. You know, all right. And there's no little galleys or anything in Astoria. You know, you've been there. So
yeah, better than shot.
We take off. We were told we were looking for 2 missing kayakers, not the overturned canoe. So we go out there and we're searching up all the sloughs of Willapa Bay. We're looking all around, trying to see if they went up somewhere and they got stuck. And around 7:30, 7:45, it's starting to get dark. All of a sudden, we get a report and we're looking for a canoe. So Miss Stewart and the crew, we get together and it's like, all right, we'll go back to the mouth of Willapa Bay and we're going to shoot straight down the middle. Sure enough, we're coming down and we find the overturned canoe. And like I said, we start our search. On the second path is when we find the father and son. And it's getting dark. I mean, it's twilight, another minute or two. Like I said, it's going to be dark. Get down there, swim up back to the dad, and he's up chest deep water about here. And I grab a hold of him, look, and there it is. There's this boy. He's out freaking cold, white. I'm like, oh, this isn't good. you know, mentally, all that's running through your head, but you still got to stay focused. I got to get you guys out of here. And the helicopter literally was like 30 feet above me. You know, they've got the night sun on me. You know, I can't hear them on radio. And, you know, all of a sudden they drop the basket down. I've got the kid. I take the father and I put him inside the basket, hoist him up. And I tried to call him and said, hey, I wanted you to send down, I wanted this drop, quick drop, and the survivor's drop, you know, because I wanted to do a double lift on this kid. I didn't want to put him in a basket. But, you know, I mean, it's dark now. The night sun's right on me. They're 30 feet above. I'm getting pelted. You know, they dropped the basket down. All right, I'm trying to get this frozen body into this basket, you know.
Yeah.
And finally, I get the kid into the basket, and they hoist him off. And then they send the hook down and get me in there. I get up in the helicopter, and I'm like, all right, I need the TRC, you know. I'm getting this kid out. I start doing a chest rub on him, you know, looking for vitals. All of a sudden he moans. I call it, thank God. Thank God, you know, he's still alive, right? So I'm getting this clothes. The flight mech give me the TRC, getting the wet clothes off on him, getting TRC. I look up, and there's Dad doing one of these numbers in the back of the helicopter. I'm like, oh, no, dude. No, you are not going anywhere. You're not giving up on me now. We're not done yet, you know? And so
head bobbing, the eyes starting to close, and you're like, holy cow. Yeah.
No. I mean, I started working on this boy. It took us 9 minutes to get from Willapa Bay back to the air station. I mean, Mr. Stewart had that thing full throttle, you know, and so we land, and this kid's still out cold, and I just grabbed him, carried him right over to the stretcher in the ambulance. You know, we had waiting, warmed up, got him in, go back, grab Dad. You know, it's like, come on, Dad, we're not done yet, buddy. And I think the boy's core temperature was hovering right around 93, 94 degrees. You know, yeah, he didn't have much more to go. But yeah, mentally that, because I was thinking of my son, and I'm like, nope, you know, I'm not letting this one go. So yeah. So in the next day, but they did everything right. They had a float plan. They told them, okay, this is where we're going. This time we're going to be back. They had communications. They would call every 30 minutes back home to his, you know, his mom, you know, and they had life jackets on. That's what saved their lives that night.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
I mean, yeah. And they said that to me, boating safety, those three things, we tell people do that anyways. And that's what saved their lives. Because if not, who knows the outcome? You know,
incredible.
So, yeah.
I got to go a step further though, because you didn't just stop there. After you got back, you went to visit him in the hospital. Fuck, that's awesome. That does not happen all the time. We don't get that opportunity to do that. Oh, yeah, please divulge some details with that. How is that?
Well, that was pretty wild, because he still, when we went and saw him the next day, he was awake. He didn't remember anything of what happened the night before, you know, after the canoe capsized. And so, you know, we explained to him about how, you know, thankful that you had the life jacket on, and because he still couldn't feel his legs. I mean, he could feel them, but they were hurting, you know, that cold temperature. And so, but he was just so thankful that we were there. And they actually came out to the air station, you know, about a month later to visit us, to thank us in person, which was pretty wild. Yeah, you know, so yeah, we got a fan of a rescue swimmer, you know, for life. And hopefully, like I said, he becomes one. You know, that would be a pretty cool story. You know,
that would be awesome.
That would be, you know. So, but it was wild. I mean, to get to see him the next day alive, and it's like breathing, talking, you know. So yeah, you know, like I said, we don't get that very often.
No, we don't. And what's, you know what, I'm even going to go out to the very beginning of this, because you're going out for missing kayakers. You're going out on a search, and we've all had that alarm go off where you're out good. You're going to search for hours and hope to find something. It's like that. Oh gosh, knowing that you went out there and you guys didn't quit.
Yeah.
Saved 2 people. Well done, sir.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah.
Freaking awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, it was like I said, that was a good night. That was a tough one, but it was good. The outcome was worth it.
What an amazing outcome. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, hats off to you and your crew.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well
Like I said,
done.
even if we were another half hour, an hour later finding him, I don't think the boy would have survived.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So.
Amazing.
So, no, it's been a fun career, man.
Yeah. Heck yeah. Buck, brother, this has been amazing. I have loved every one of these stories. It's one of the things I like to do. You had an amazing career, 30 years plus or just shy? I don't remember.
Just shy.
Just shy.
Just shy
Okay.
by 3 months.
Either way, you're close to 30 years in the Coast Guard. You made Master Chief, E9. Well done, sir. So with that, advice that you would pass on to everybody still doing the job, anybody that's looking to come to it, what would you give them?
Well, first thing is the job, it's 95%. It's mental toughness. You got to be mentally tough. So you can't give up ever. And be prepared for when you never know when that SAR alarm is going to go off. Be prepared physically and mentally to go out there and do that job each and every day. And you see an innovation for the equipment, don't be afraid to make the change. Don't be afraid to bring this up and say, hey, let's try this. Let's look at this. Because that's how we move forward. And like you were saying about that bag for the litters, perfect. Yeah. And we should be using those. But get out there, stay in shape, and don't be afraid to say, one, if you get injured, and two, if you have a case that's pretty bad, don't be afraid to talk about it. That's one thing I loved about the shop, man, is we got together afterwards and we talked about the cases, the bad ones, the ugly ones. And that helps out a lot because you don't need to carry that with you because it's only going to lead you down to a bad road. So don't be afraid to speak up. We know you're tough.
Yep.
But you don't have to be tough all the time.
That's right.
So, yeah.
And every one of us, I'll throw this out there. Every one of us, you can call any of us. We will all sit down and have a conversation with you anytime.
Oh, hands down. Yeah, it definitely, like I said, you don't need to go through that alone. So,
and I like what you said right there. We know you're tough. We do.
Yeah.
We know you're tough. Yeah. We've been through it.
Yeah.
Don't worry. Yeah. You're not a wuss. Yeah. It's okay.
No. Yeah. That's exactly it, man. That's exactly it. So, but that's
awesome.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure, Jason, man. It's great seeing you again.
Buck, this has been awesome. I am so pumped you came on. I am so excited to see you at the next DCERT. It's going to be a blast.
Oh, it sure is.
Yeah. And if I gotta wait, if I get down there before then, I will be definitely giving you a call. So I mean,
sounds good, man.
You're just like a stone throw away from the beach. Why would I not call you? I'm just saying.
That's it, brother.
Dude, this has been awesome.
That's it.
Thank you again so much. I will be in touch. I do look forward to seeing you. All right.
Yeah, I look forward to Jason. Thank you. It's been a pleasure, man, and bring back some great memories. Have some great times. So
awesome. That's what I'm here for, man. That's what I'm here for. I love it.
All right.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are out of here.
Go.
Now it's time for me to pull chocks and take off. But before I go, I'm always looking for the memorable rescues that people have done. If you have one that you're willing to share or know somebody who has a story, please feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to highlight it here at the Real ResQ. For everybody that is standing by for that SAR alarm, remember, those in distress are praying for a miracle. They are going to get you. So until next time, fly safe and swim hard. Thank you for joining me today here at the Real ResQ podcast, powered by Vertical Helicast. We'd also like to say thank you to our sponsors for this episode.
Axnis, the Axnis PNG wireless ICS system, delivers cutting-edge wireless ICS technology to any aircraft as a fully integrated system or as a carry-on, carry-off mobile base station. The PNG wireless system is the right solution for any mission.
And
Breeze Eastern. For over 80 years, Breeze Eastern has designed and manufactured battle-proven aerial rescue hoists, winches, and cargo hooks. Each product is carefully crafted to support demanding mission scenarios, ensuring the job gets done safely and efficiently. Visit them today at www.breeze-eastern.com.
go. So when the sprinklers turn on, I love to just get into the mud. And then what I like to do, go ahead, come here, is I like to run inside and put muddy paws all over the floor. Oh my gosh, dog, you're freaking filthy. And Rhoda, who needs a bath? Who wants a bath? Do you want a bath? No, you don't.